Beautiful summer day out here working on the old automobile. And here is where my two wires are for my little float that I'm going to put on this reservoir here. So if this thing gets low, before the engine would overheat, I'd get a little signal inside the cockpit, let me know I have an issue. So I ran that wire down in through here, kind of taped it up so it kind of looks like regular automotive wire. Come on down through here and down through there. You can see too well. I'll go down there and take a peek at that in a minute. But I got it coming up through here. Coming up through there and running across underneath the dash here. But this here hole is the drain for the condensate for the air conditioner. So there's a little grommet that goes around it. I cut this a little bitty section, 1/8 inch section off it, so it's not completely round all the way around, so this would fit through there. But this is no worse for the wear. Still should do its job. And the wire goes over here. Comes out through there under this plastic piece here and works its way over to here. And from here I'm going to hook up a little relay and switch right here that will come through here so I can do a switch. And then the indicator lamps can go on this device right here. So the hard part was just getting this wire through. That was the hard part. The rest should be pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Go down to the basement here and see what we all have. Alrighty. Oh. There it is right there. Going right up in through the floor of the car. I don't know if you can really see real well. It just kind of goes along the back of the firewall here and comes on down here. I might try to tape that wire up against something so it ain't just dangling back there. But it's pretty good. It should be fairly cool back there, so I don't worry about it getting too hot. Plus, got that electric tape across it, and that should keep it pretty cool. But it's just going up through this hole here, and this water should just drain right out of that holes right there. So there, I get a better view of it right there. So that water should just come rolling on out of, drips out of there. Could try to pull that hose through a little bit more. That's good enough where it's at. Okay, I'm down in my basement. Got it all kind of wired up here, all nice and neat. Well, may not be nice and neat, but it gets the job done. Just want to see if it would work correctly, which it looks like it will. And there is my float. I had to cut this back a little bit. I didn't order the socket that it plugs into. I just went and soldered the wires right on there. I'll go ahead and seal it down with some of this stuff here in a little bit. But I believe it's going to work, so as it goes into the fluid, it'll raise up like where it normally will be, normally live, and they'll be green, saying I've got fluid in my reservoir. When it drops to a certain level, it will go red, and it just goes through this little relay here. Not too complicated really. I drew out a little circuit here somewhere. Here it is. So your power comes in here through this little toggle switch. Then I could turn the whole system off. I don't really need that light blaring at me all the time. Just every so often I can turn it on and to check it. So I turn the whole power off here and it disables everything. So, but if I'm on a long trip, driving down Highway 70 to Colorado, I can have this on and just keep an eye on it. I'm on a long drive because I don't want to overheat and not know about it ahead of time. So 12 volts coming in through here through this toggle switch through my float. That will energize the coil. So as soon as this thing is energized, see it's energized right now all the time, and then when it goes up, it de-energizes. So you just hook it onto one of the switches. This relay comes with 2 switches, one on each side of it, but I'm just using the one side. That's all I really need, this side over here. So pretty simple deal. So the hard part, like what I just accomplished, was running that wire through the engine compartment and up through that condensate drain for the air conditioner. So all I need to do is seal this up here, drill my hole for the reservoir so this could fit in there, and put it all back in the car, hook it all up. Should be pretty straightforward. I just want to know if that thing's getting low before the temperature gets too hot. By then you're getting knocked out on the highway. My car is known for a coolant leak problem, a cracked engine block problem. The car is almost 11 years old. It's got 187,000. It hasn't happened to me yet. It had a 10-year warranty on the engine, which has expired. So I just want to know. I'm probably going to keep the car for a little bit longer. It actually runs pretty good for what it is. So this is a little one-day event here, trying to figure this out. I originally had these I bought these things off Amazon. I thought, man, I ain't gonna put these things, are ridiculously big. I ain't gonna put these in there. So I got a little cover piece I popped out of the car. I don't know what I did with it here. It's probably out in the car still. But I'm gonna drill holes and mount these guys in there so I can see it inside the old cockpit. Alright, there we go. We'll try to get it all put in the car nice and neat. I bought this little battery pack thing. Now I could run it straight to like my car lighter or something like that, but I think I'm just going to use this. I'd like to have anything I already rigged in my car to be isolated from the car electronics. So I'd probably just put this in here. And that's another reason for the switch. When I'm really not needing this thing, I just shut it off. And certainly, if I have to leave this on, it'd have to go through like the ignition switch, so when I turn the key out, it shut off. So I normally will probably leave this off all the time. And I'm just going to take this whole piece and Velcro it inside the car. And we'll see how all that looks after we get all this cleaned up a little bit. Alrighty. Well, I got a hummingbird in here. I got to figure out how to get him out of here. Son of a gun. Anyway. Oh, I got that getting ready. Here pretty soon. Hook that up here. I've got a little silicone. I got to drill a couple holes in there still to attach it. But in here, I got, let's see here, my little headlamp on. My little setup here, my little relay, I just Velcroed it in that spot right there. This I drilled the hole, hooked that up in there, put some clips on here, so at least I got to pull that off. These are just soldered on. It's never going to come apart, so I'm not really worried about it. Here's where my 2 lights will come. So I'm going to snap all this in place. And just when my lights are ready, I'll stick them in through here and just shove this wire back in there. If I cut some of this off, don't need it this long. But my battery pack, oh shoot. I just mounted it there. Hooked some Velcro on it again, so it can pop out there pretty easily. It shouldn't get in my way. If it does, I can move it up or somewhere out of the way. And eventually, I think I might just come on and hook it into the lighter over here. But we'll see. I dig this part out. I'm not too excited about doing that. So this might be just good enough. Get me by for now. So, onward. Well, I'm finally finished with phase 1 of this job. So there it is. The green light is on because it is reservoir is filled up, and the plunger is in there, or the float is in there. As I said, normally I'll just have it off and I'll just turn it on to check it from time to time. If I'm on a long trip, I could just leave it on. But normally it'll just be off if I'm just going back and forth to work. So there it is. You can get my little power supply down there. Hopefully my foot don't rub up against that and knock it off. If it does, I can move it. That won't be no big deal. I got plenty of wires shoved up underneath this thing. There's my little switch right there. So let's come out here and take a peek. So there she is. I got it out here for the moment. I got a couple of screws that will fasten down here and there to hold this in place. But I left it out specifically just to test it. So if it comes out, that float goes to the bottom. It should be, red light should be on. Let's take a peek. And it is. There's the red light. So I'm done finally, hallelujah, with at least phase one of this job. I may go back and redo a couple things, especially with that power, maybe hooking it to the car. Probably wouldn't be too hard to tear these panels down and get to this thing right here. I gotta take this part, which was part of this piece here. It just really just pops out pretty easy. So it probably wouldn't be too hard to go back there and do that. But for right now, I'm just gonna leave it as it is. It's functional. One thing I am concerned about, now people in the reviews and everything said when their engine block cracked and lost all the fluid that the reservoir was empty. But as you're driving down the road, your radiator cap pushes, it expands as it heats up and pushes this thing inward here, which allows a little fluid to go back into here, to this hose right here. Only about a 1/4 inch I've noticed increase in rise. And when it sits and cools, this little part here, this top piece here, pulls outward and it draws that fluid in. So as I'm driving down the road and this car develops a little leak in the engine block, normally back behind here or over here is where it tends to leak. If it starts leaking, it may not pull from this reservoir until you shut the engine off and it cools down and creates a vacuum. That's when it pulls from this reservoir. So if I'm driving 400 miles and it's continually leaking, it may not send that signal to me until I pull over and get gas, let the engine cool down for a few minutes. So we'll see. I don't know, I'm not an expert on how exactly the physics behind this, but at least gives me somewhat of a view of what's going on. I had to really fill this reservoir up quite a bit. It normally only lives down here, but this thing isn't quite that long. So I just filled it up. Like I said, it only goes up maybe a 1/4 inch at the most, so it shouldn't be overflowing out the overflow tube. So it should be good to go. Anyway, I hope this helped somebody. If anybody has any questions or comments, opinions, go ahead and give me an email, or excuse me, make a post in the comment section. Here's the wire. This probably could be run a little better, tightened up. I might get some little tabs for wire ties, kind of attach it here. But I kind of got it all wire tied underneath there. Oh, that's good enough. Get too fussy about this. I got other things to do with my life than work on this old car. So, I got a beautiful day out here, beautiful summer day in Missouri. Yep. My old sugar maple. And my old tool area. All nice and neat. Yeah, maybe not that nice and neat, but it gets the job done. Anyway, take care.